Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to take part in this debate. I think Manchester occupies an interesting place in this debate, and we've had the list of movements that had their birthplace in Manchester. I think this issue is at the confluence, in a way, of one of our scientific traditions and one of our political traditions as well. Manchester is extremely fortunate to be home to a world-renowned scientific and academic community, and the council will always be a strong advocate of the activity, the research and the economic benefits of our universities. At the same time, we are the host council and the birthplace of UK and Ireland nuclear-free local authorities, and I currently represent Manchester City Council on that body. When I was asked quite recently to take on that role, I thought it seemed to be honest, a bit of an odd lefty product of the 80s. But since I am an odd lefty product of the 80s, I thought I might as well give it a try. But I wasn't sure, really what nuclear policy had to do with local government. I mean, nuclear policy means talking about waste, public health, the environment, planning, decentralisation, large projects going over budget. It turns out actually that nuclear policy absolutely is the business of local government, and that's been the view in Manchester for some time. Manchester was the first city in the UK to declare itself nuclear free. I noticed that the write-up for this event, one of the write-ups for this event in the Science Festival brochure says that Manchester is now a nuclear-free zone. That's actually been the case since 1980. That's when nuclear-free local authorities were set up, following the passing of a resolution by Manchester City Council, which sought to establish an association of like-minded councils concerned about nuclear issues. We've currently got about 50 member authorities. The NFLA was initially concerned about the escalating threat of nuclear weapons. This was obviously during the Cold War, and it was to this that the idea of nuclear-free zones chiefly referred, as a symbolic political statement. And it's worth noting, I think, that the NFLA hasn't actually used that term nuclear-free zones for quite a while, as it does tend to cloud the issue a little. Following back in the days of NFLA's inception, following 3 Mile Island, then Chernobyl, and obviously more recently following Fukushima, the NFLA has also worked a lot on nuclear power, reflecting legitimate concerns in local government and further afield over nuclear power's detrimental consequences. For the last 35 years, NFLA has engaged with the nuclear industry, government, nuclear regulators, raising concerns, developing original research, and putting forward the views of its local government member authorities on issues relating to the radioactive waste legacy, decommissioning of nuclear facilities, nuclear safety, emergency planning, and the transportation of nuclear materials. And we absolutely support academic and industry research and development in all these areas, as they can all affect public safety, public protection, environmental and human health, and the Council's role in the event of an emergency incident. NFLA also supports, it's worth saying, peaceful applications of nuclear technology in things like improvements for radioactive waste management and decommissioning, and in things like medical research as well. What we're broadly opposed to is new nuclear build, and there's a number of reasons for that, and John has gone into many of them, but I'll just reiterate a few. One is the generation of new sources of radioactive waste. Now, one of the blurbs for this event asks whether our scientific research community should be newly focused on a nuclear future. When no policy still exists for the current waste that has been produced over the last 60 years, you have to wonder whether we shouldn't first sort out our nuclear past. Manchester was a founder member with Cumbria of the Nuclear Legacy Advisory Forum to try and find new solutions to these issues, provide a platform for local government to engage with stakeholders. There is a shortfall of specialist staff in the nuclear industry, and we are concerned that new nuclear build could see some of the staff that there are being diverted from dealing with the nuclear legacy issue. Another concern, obviously, is safety. In a post-Fukushima environment, there are naturally concerns, as John has gone into, about the safety and security of nuclear power. The Fukushima disaster, above all, showed the vulnerability of nuclear power to human error and environmental change. Obviously, John's highlighted the frightening issues around terrorism as well. And then there are, inescapably, the huge, enormous, vast, I'm running out of synonyms, costs for a new nuclear programme at a time of austerity in public finance, at a time when the government has seriously threatened low-carbon energy by announcing up to 90% cuts in some subsidies to renewable energy providers, and at a time when we could be investing in an altogether different and genuinely low-carbon vision. NFLA has made a submission this week to the Energy and Climate Change Select Committee's inquiry on the development of a low-carbon energy infrastructure in Britain. That submission examines the likely decreasing importance of baseload electricity in future low-carbon electricity networks. what future low-carbon electricity networks will need is flexible backup generation, which can be turned on and off quickly to provide electricity at peak times. Large, centralised baseload power stations, nuclear and otherwise, will undermine moving towards a clean energy future and just result in more renewable electricity going to waste. NFLA would argue that our energy priorities as a country for investment and policy making should include a wide renewable energy mix, not just thousands of windmills in the weak Manchester and Glasgow sunshine, but also geothermal, biomass from sustainable sources, other things like that. Also increased grid interconnection with other countries, increased energy storage, combined heat and power plants, and new models of flexible, decentralised energy with schemes for community energy and microgeneration. It always comes back to devolution in this city, doesn't it? But Germany, Denmark, California, other places around the world are pursuing local energy companies and quite literally returning power to the people. Sorry. Couldn't resist. So my answer has to be nuclear power, no thanks. But this is all part of a new and wide-ranging and fast-moving debate on future energy policy. It's taking place in all political parties. It involves unusual coalitions of support on all sides, and it means huge opportunities for communities and for local authorities. I think if there's one city in this country that knows how to take advantage of those opportunities and to engage in a new kind of political debate, it's Manchester. NFLA and the Council are actively taking part in that debate in what we hope is a sensible, rational and common sense way. And we look forward to continuing engagement with our scientific community as we do that. Thank you.